Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? Once again, I'm back. For those of you tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you that do not know who I am, my name is Ray Destin Jr. I am the founder and CEO of BOBM Publishing, LLC. We are a full-service publishing house that has helped the last 268 authors to become Amazon #1 bestsellers. So we kind of got this, we kind of got a system that works. And so, every day I told y'all I'm gonna be on here. I'm going to share some information. I'm gonna share something that's gonna help you to grow. Share something that's going to help you to get better as a writer, whether it be writing tips, whether it be some of the business tips, some of the additional opportunities that come from it. And today is all about powerful wordplay, right? It's powerful wordplay for authors. The reason that I want you to understand the difference in regular wordplay and powerful wordplay is because if you have that powerful wordplay, it's going to connect with your audience in a much different way. So if you're on with me, do me a favor, drop a like, drop a heart, go ahead and hit that share button, because there's somebody out there that needs to get that book out of their head onto the paper so that it can impact you. So I got a few things that I want to touch on when it comes down to powerful wordplay, and I'm gonna do it like I've done it before. I'm gonna go top to bottom, and then I'm gonna come back and break it down for you. So one of the first things, which is one of my favorite to use, is alliteration. Got an example from myself and also from one of the greats. Then there's the use of metaphors. There are words that evoke emotion. There is a rhyme scheme within your writing. Storytelling, descriptive writing, and then avoid repetitious wordplay. So let's break that down. Alliteration is the first thing that I want to touch on. And alliteration is the use of the same syllable or the same sound when a sentence goes on. So one of my favorite examples of alliteration comes from one of the greats. Most people know him as Pac. I call him Tupac Amaru Shakur. And in one of his songs on the Me Against the World album, he starts it off with some very strong lyrics, but he has a very strong message. I'm not going to read the first half of it because it's filled with Tupac style words. Says, but the last half of the first verse says, pockets is packed with presidents pursue your riches. So you hear that P consistently going on in there. Evading the player hating tricks while hitting switches. He switches it to a rhyme scheme within the same line. We're going to skip that next line. But then he goes down to say, I'll just read the last parts of it. Say, I'm sick of psychotic society. Somebody save me. Addicted to drama, so even mama couldn't raise me. Even the preacher and all my teachers couldn't reach me. I run in the streets and puffing with my peeps. I'm ducking the cops. I hit the weed as I'm clutching my Glock. The last verse goes along with it. So the reason that particular verse I use for alliteration is because he does two things within there. One, he uses alliteration so you'll hear the same syllable throughout, which conveys such a powerful sound. But he also uses that rhyme scheme, so it's like he floats in there. So it's a melodic melody. Now, even though this is a rap song, all rap is poetry. All rap is poetry in motion. And I'll give you an example of alliteration for something that I did, because I want you to hear how it actually impacted the impacts. Discovering depths of definition deep within, seeking solution seeking, soul searching, self-reflection, intensely investigating internal issues intelligently, gradually grasping greater goals examined genuinely, carefully considering customized conclusions, consciously clarifying, condemning careless choosing, allowing all acceptable answers after alternatives are alleviated, mentally mastered myself, my maturity matriculated, revelations regarding reality revealed, reputation, decisive, deliberate, decoded, self-definition. And that poem is actually in first book, Claim Your Destiny. and it's called Define Yourself. So when you use alliteration, what you're doing, you're actually allowing the reader to hear this melody within as their eyes are moving across the page. Their ears are also tuned in. So you're allowing them to kind of not just hear the melody, but it kind of lulls them into a sense of tranquility as they're reading through your words. So that alliteration is definitely one of the powerful wordplay types, one of the uses of powerful wordplay. Metaphors. We talked about metaphors when we were talking about descriptive writing. And all the metaphor is when you're comparing something to something else. Because a lot of times your reader may be in a different culture. And the use of metaphors, they may not be familiar with the particular topic that you're talking about. They may not be used to the particular phrase that you're talking about, but they are used to something that you can compare it to. So if I say, back in the day, everybody was on spree wheels. I'm from Houston, so spree wheels was nothing more than rims that kept on spinning after the time. So a lot of people used to say spree wheels kind of like helicopters. And the reason for that is because even though you can't grasp the concept of a wheel that just keeps spinning after the car has stopped, you can grasp the concept of helicopter propellers that are constantly going. That is the use of metaphors. You want to make sure that as you are describing something, it may not be universally relative, but what it is something that you want to give them a point of reference, a frame of reference that the reader themselves can go back and say, you know what, I understand that wholeheartedly, because in my culture, we have helicopters. In my culture, we have whatever they have that's in comparison to what you're trying to convey that message for them. Next, I'm going to touch on words that evoke emotion. And we talked about this before, those words that replace another word, because a lot of people constantly use the same thing. And I'm going to put words that evoke emotion and repetition together because they are along the same lines. When you're using the same words over and over and over again, I was angry. Okay, we get it. You're angry. But how angry were you? One of the common phrases that this generation has is, "Oh, you big mad," to talk about being extremely angry, or "Oh, you big happy," or whatever the case may be. Well, when you use words that evoke emotion, instead of using anger, use something that can replace it, that explains an extreme level of frustration, that extremes that you are livid, that explains that your eyes were red because you were so angry. Again, that's going back to metaphors. But what you want to do when you're using those words that evoke emotion is replace a common word and tap into that thesaurus, tap into your dictionary, tap into the things that you actually can replace it with. Because if people hear the same thing over and over again, even though it's saying the same message, when you replace a common word with something new, instead of happy, joy, exuberance, glee, those are all words that describe a different level of happiness. Zen, that is an extreme level of happiness. By replacing those words, by replacing those individual words with additional words that mean something different, what ends up happening is the reader now has a variety to choose from, but they can actually picture the levels that you are in. Storytelling. Let's talk about storytelling. I love storytelling because it goes into describing things. We talked about the power of storytelling a few days ago, and I talked about the movie Rudy, and I talked about the movie Scarface. But think about your favorite romance movie. In your favorite romance movie or your favorite action movie, what always has to happen is they have to build those characters up to a certain degree, and you have to kind of understand where the character came from. The more you understand where the character came from, if they started with nothing and they became this They rose to power. Now you get a chance to see, wait a minute, they were hardworking. They were counted out. They were they were doubted. And it begins to give you a sense of relation to that particular character. They call it the superhero effect. And what the superhero effect is basically you are telling the story from the viewpoint of your ultimate hero. And the ultimate hero doesn't have to wear a cape, doesn't have to put on a tight garment like the Avengers or like the X-Men. The superhero can be the average guy, the average woman, but they are going through some things. And in the process, you're learning about their backstory. You're learning about their heartbreak. You're learning about their triumphs. You're learning about everything that they're going through. One of my favorite movies, and I got one of my favorite quotes from it, is Happy Feet. You know, Disney does a great job when it comes down to storytelling because it takes the inanimate, which is an animal or a plant or a bird or, you know, something that's not human, and it gives them human characteristics. By giving these animals human characteristics, we'll go into the movie Happy Feet. And I know y'all are like, dude, you got grays in your beard and you're gonna talk about a kids movie. Yeah, I do that all the time. I do it all the time because you can learn from these kids movies. So in the movie Happy Feet, there was this penguin, and all the other penguins had their heart songs. They had this ability to sing. Their voices were resonating. They could sing Madonna. They could sing Prince. They could do hip hop. They had all this variety of things that they could do. And the main character, Mambo, had no ability to sing. But what he did have, he was different. And what the movie taught was you don't have to be the same, because he became the hero of the movie because of his difference, his ability to tap. No human could actually hear what the penguins were saying. They couldn't hear the songs, but the ability that he had to tap dance and to use his feet is what ended up saving the village and created an opportunity for everybody else to eat. When you use storytelling, you're bringing people into the picture. You're allowing them to fall in love with the main character. And by allowing them to fall in love with the main character, you're also allowing them to see it from the viewpoint of either the main character or the narrator. So storytelling is important. Description is another huge one that people miss. What people usually do in their storytelling or in their stories is they just kind of say, you know, James was bald. Susie was a girl with long hair. And so it leaves so much to be desired by the reader. What did James really look like? What did Susie really look like? Give those characters a face. Once you give them a face, describe the environment that they're in. When you begin to describe the environment that these characters are in, you give the reader a chance to kind of see the scene for themselves. And not only do they see the scene for themselves, again, you want your reader to be able to place themselves in the very thing that you are describing. You want them to be able to jump into the book, jump into the scene, and fall in love with what's going on. So I'm going to give you just a small piece of descriptive writing from one of my other books. And it says you're on a busy street in a large metropolitan city. There are crowds of people moving about in their daily routine. There are several men dressed impeccably in custom-tailored business suits, pocket squares, and freshly shined shoes. Y'all gotta excuse me. A few women are layered in designer dresses, fitted blazers, and high-fashion heels. You can also see people that are casually dressed in jeans, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and tennis shoes. So if you've ever been in a large city and you know what it's like to walk into a busy skyscraper or a busy industrial building, you know that this scene is creating your average busy city day. But for someone who has never seen that, you just had the description of what the people are wearing, the men and that are in custom suits, the women that are in blazers and nice heels. These are the types of things that you want to include in your writing. You want to describe the scene. You want to allow the reader to enjoy their journey through your book, whether it is a self-help book. The addition of stories and characters helps. Some of the top self-help books, the 1 Minute Manager, the Raving Fans, the 1 Minute Entrepreneur, Gung Ho, Who Moved My Cheese. Those are all books that are about this thick. They're very short, very small, but they're so powerful because you fall in love with the characters through the story that they are sharing. So as a writer, you have to learn to connect with your reader. And like I said, just going back through the list: alliteration, metaphors, words that evoke emotion, using rhyme scheme, storytelling, descriptive writing, and avoiding too much repetition. When people hear the same word over and over and over again, it kind of lulls them out of your book and they get bored. You want to lull them into a phase of kind of being hypnotized with the beauty of your writing. So that's all I have for today. Again, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this was some information that you can use. And as new and existing authors, if you implement the strategies that I've given, what will happen is you'll find yourself being able to connect with your reader at a much deeper level, and your readers will come back again and again and again. And those reviews about your book and what they'll tell their friends is, you know what? I could not put the book down because it was so well written. It wasn't repetitious. The wordplay was just so powerful. It moved me to, and I can't wait for the next book by this author to come out. Implement the strategies and let's go forth and be great. Listen, if this was helpful to you, do me a favor, drop a like, drop a heart, and go ahead and hit that share button so that somebody else who's sitting on the fence with their book can get that book out of their head onto the paper so that it can impact you and the rest of the world. Once again, my name is Ray Destin Jr. I am the CEO and founder of BOBM Publishing. Love you guys, and there's nothing you can do about it. Love y'all. Until next time.